I asked them what do we need to do better, and they collectively said, we need to be more competitive. So we define competitiveness, and competitiveness is defined as having and showing an intense desire to be more successful than others. So, while we have a lot of people who say they have competitiveness, if they don't show it, then we say by definition you need to work on that.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today you're joined with Adam Ellis, Club Director at NPJ, Mike G, Director of Volleyball at NPJ, and today we have a very special guest, Ken Coe, the head coach at LIU Brooklyn. Ken, thanks for taking the time to join us today, buddy.
Thanks. Good to see you guys again.
Definitely. Hey, so not very many people know, but Ken actually had the unique opportunity and some would say privilege of coaching both Mike and I in high school. So we'll get to that a little bit later, but just wanted to let everyone know that Mike, Ken, and I have known one another for a number of years. Ken, want to start with just a question and talk a little bit about your background and your career. You've had an extremely impressive amount of success. What can you tell us about, what got you started with volleyball and where you found your passion for coaching?
Sure. Well, just growing up in California, there wasn't so much opportunity for me as a guy growing up playing volleyball in Northern California, but happened to be on a trip in the mid '80s to Southern California and got to attend the Laguna Beach Open. And so that kind of opened my eyes to beach volleyball, and it was awesome. And then after that, I actually got involved. Was fortunate enough to learn and play the game at UC Davis, where I did my undergraduate, and it was great. Met a lot of guys that I'm still friends with today, and kind of lifelong friends as you would. The game provided that for me. And then shortly after that, because Davis was involved with the festival and we had huge junior tournaments going on there, I would go back and do some officiating and hang out with my friends, and just being on the game, I missed it. So actually I was fortunate enough to get involved with some high school coaching in the area, and that's the great Miramani High School where you guys both graduated from, and coached girls for a number of years, and before coaching the boys team for the one season. And then, just as it would be, had an opportunity to coach collegiately, took it, and 21 years later, it's still going at it. So that's kind of what got me going in volleyball.
What was it like coaching both Mike and I? What was the first memory that comes to mind?
Oh man, well it's too
many good ones.
It's two different stories here, but to keep it brief, my first memory with you, Adam, was just work with you on the blacktop. You're a young student of the game. You're passionate about learning, and I remember you and your family reaching out to me to see if we would do some kind of private lessons as you were. And back then it was, where can we find some space? So we just found some blacktop somewhere and a ball that was, probably a little bit old and used, and we worked on some footwork drills and some other things as you were a setter, and just that was my first memory. And you were there, willing, hungry to learn, and it was great. I mean, that was a really fun experience.
I still remember that same exact experience. You would back before Safe Sport and all that, you used to come over and pick me up in your gold 4Runner. Then we'd head down to Miramani and hop out on the outdoor basketball courts and start doing footwork, and then we go up against the wall and start doing handwork. And man, those are just some great times. And I think back to what really got me excited about volleyball, and those were some of the times that really got me excited and motivated. So
I had no idea you were doing that.
Yeah, it was pure, because especially nowadays with people being quarantined and people not allowed to even have a net or a gym or all the luxuries that we usually have to train with. There was I don't think at any point we ever felt like there's something missing. And so I think that as long as you have love for what you're doing and looking for ways to get better, that was perfect. And I think a lot of people are experiencing that now. And hopefully they're being driven by that love and that passion to be better at their sport, not just whether or not a box or a card of balls actually that does nothing really to help you get better. It's kind of your own personal drive. So I love that about you, Adam. That was great.
Yeah, I still remember, being able to take that footwork and then spend, an hour to 2 hours a day on my own, just going over that footwork to make sure the next time we met, it was even better. So.
Yeah. And you could see the growth, and that was awesome. Now, Mike's a different story. Mike is, this is going to be a good story. This is the one, because I had been coaching the girls team in the fall, and then coaching club for Golden Bear in the spring. And so coming back and coaching boys that one season, it was the reasons because I took the job to coach collegiately, and I wasn't allowed to coach the girls team anymore. So that spring, I was asked to fill in and help coach boys for a season. So I did. I didn't really know the guys very well, and it was kind of just one of the things that guys did outside of football season, and just kind of something fun to do. And so we're kind of putting together this team and looking at all the guys and who could make up that varsity squad and be good. And here comes this little super athletic guy, and I'm like, shoot, this guy could do a lot of stuff, very athletic and good, really, really good energy. And so Mike shown through tryouts and, did a great job and made our list of people to be on varsity that season. And Mike, you remember what happened after that?
Yeah, we went up to the track.
Mike, I think what happened, Mike, was you came to me and said, Coach, I think I'd rather just play JV. And I was like, come on, Mike.
Wait, we were running. Wait. This was in the middle of running. I don't know, 10 miles must have been.
I think, Mike, your memories. This is your memory. That my memory is that you were asked to stay on JV. So, I get it. It's tough. I think I had a reputation as a varsity girls coach who had won some championships and won league championships, and I don't know what the kids talk about, but it's probably that I'm tough, and this is kind of more of an enjoyable thing to do in the spring. Like, hey, let's just get together with the buddies and have some fun. And I probably brought a little bit different perspective of being in shape, and which you already were, but then being asked to be in shape and being in shape is kind of two different things. And I don't know, maybe I had a little problem with authority. I'm not really sure, but I mean, but it came across like, hey, you really had some questions as to whether or not varsity was going to be something you really wanted to do. And but we talked about it, and to your credit, you said you allowed me to convince you that varsity was going to be okay for you. You could handle it, you would manage it, and I think the rest is history. I think that it gave you a platform to be uncomfortable, but being uncomfortable is something that helped you grow and helped you find a love of the sport that was more serious and more geared towards just being a productive person, and how you've grown. I mean, I like to think that was kind of a launching point for you, but if you had just stayed on JV and got to goof around and never really got serious about it, maybe you wouldn't have found that you were really, really good at it. So totally. I think that's something that I that's my first memory of you, and I think that where you've gotten from that day is from coaching with USA and just doing just so many things that you're doing, your passion about posting videos and your analysis of things. It's like, that's right up my alley. Like, I love that. We've had some really good discussions about some different things, and whether we agree or we agree to disagree, it's that kind of conversation banter I really enjoy.
Yeah. No, I could go on and on about that moment, that story. And in short, I mean, yeah, totally. I'm here now in a part of this conversation with you guys because of that real critical, life-changing conversation that we had. And, I don't remember all the details of it, and I wish I could remember. Here's what I do remember. You had done a masterful job, whether you knew it at the time or not. But part of, I think, your coaching genius was, I wanted to quit. I wanted to stick with the thing that I knew and that was easy and comfortable, and I knew it was going to be a great time and I was going to be good at it. And at the first signs of, this varsity thing being something not just more serious, but it was going to be 10 times more demanding than anything else up until that time. And I thought, whoa, wait a second. Like, tryouts were great. Things were fun. We're playing volleyball and now we're on the track running. I don't know. I don't know where we're going with this, and this guy's pulling a fast one on me. And I think I wanted to quit and say, hey, I'm just going to thanks, but no thanks. And, you weren't hard on me. You weren't, giving me a lecture about the pitfalls, the perils of quitting. It was more of this thing where, to sum it all up, it was kind of like, all these, just give it a week and then maybe we'll revisit this conversation, but I think you can do it. And you definitely did encourage me a lot. And I was like, okay, well, I'll give it a week. And, 20 some odd years later, I'm still here. That conversation never came up again. So I know every time we talk, I jump at the opportunity to thank you for that. Really.
Well, like I said, it's been a privilege to coach both of you guys. I mean, you mentioned that earlier. If anyone will say it, it'll be me, because I think that, where you guys are at and how you guys have grown and you guys have helped change so many other lives. And then even been there when we took a West Coast trip from Brooklyn out to be with you guys in Oregon, and you guys rolled out the red carpet for us. And that it was so awesome to see kind of that world that you've built and you're still building. And so it's as any coach, we get into it for not just what we can give, but what we can learn and what we can experience through our players as well. And you guys, where you're at now, it's great to watch. It's great to be a part of.
Yeah. I don't know about Mike, Ken, but I know for me, the things that you instilled, in myself and all of our teammates, is something that will never, be taken for granted. Volleyball was something for me that, became my life. And that's something that, the skills, the work ethic, the love of the game, and the ability to motivate others are just, characteristics that I can't thank you enough for. I know, whenever Mike and I talk about you, it's nothing but praising you. And we're so thankful for, all of the time and energy that you put into us, because for me, I don't know if I ever would have played volleyball if it wasn't for you.
Yeah. Listen, I appreciate that very much, guys. I mean, it's sometimes you work with athletes for 4 years and sometimes you work with them for 1 year, and you just hope that you have some type of positive impact on other people. And so this is, I think, one of those, I wouldn't say rare, but I would say, it's a special case of two guys. We only worked together for 1 season, 1 year, but we're still standing after all these years.
Yeah.
So it's great. Yeah.
I know we got to move on, Adam, and we got some stuff that we prepared and we want to get into. But the last thing before we do that, Ken, you really taught me like how good it felt to work hard. And, I think as athletes, you start to learn that it's so hard to push yourself to that limit. And you need somebody else in your corner, whether it's your coach or a teammate or your idols or whatever. You need somebody else pushing you to show you that. And once I saw how good it felt to work hard, as hard and painful as it was, the running or this or whatever it was, it just felt so good afterwards. So anyway, thank you so much. And it's a pleasure to have you and be here as a part of the conversation. So let's get into it.
Okay.
Hey, so Ken, describe your coaching style and how has it changed and developed throughout the years? And then I'm going to have a second follow-up question to that.
Sure. I just in the spirit of transparency, I think it's fair enough to say, like, I'm old school. I grew up in this, when you've been in the game a long time, when you've seen the transition from side out scoring to rally scoring, and the use of not having liberos and having liberos. I mean, our game's changed a lot. And I think my coaching style has probably changed a lot too. I mean, I think in the early stages, maybe we were taught a certain way that we should just accept things for what they are without asking questions. And nowadays then in your early coaching days, you don't have that much to really answer. You're just not really sure. So, I think that I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with some great coaches in the game, and against some great coaches in the game. So there's been this movement to improve and movement to understand our game better. So I think my coaching style has evolved that way also, from just answering the whys of certain things, and looking forward, and not just saying this is what we're going to do because this is what I'm used to teaching, but we're going to do this because look around you. This is what our team this season makes up of. And so, we're going to think a little bit outside the box, and we want to be a little bit different. I think also coaching at the mid-major level, we have some great competitive athletes, but maybe not the size. So we're trying to do some different things in different ways. At the same time, we're not running people probably like we did when you guys were in high school for making mistakes, because you're trying to show the value of, okay, you just made a mistake, but it didn't cost us points. Let's get back, and in the side out game, let's try to get the serve back, and so it's always about earning. And so now the game is so punitive as it is, to punish mistakes on top of mistakes just breeds this negative cycle. So, really trying to encourage people to see the value in doing things a certain way, and doing it correctly gives you the best chance, I think, of winning. And at the same time, now you need to separate the conditioning side of things, separate the toughness side of things, and do that because that part is a necessity of the game as well, and not necessarily connected to, I made a mistake, therefore I have to run lines. So I think my style has changed a lot to help teams reach that goal together. We as coaches can't get to our goal unless our players do. So trying to bridge that gap, and educating them, and the joy and doing certain things well. I mean, this is what I get really excited about, is helping players do something that they've never done before, or do it in a way that's better than they've ever done before, and then how that relates to each other. So I think that's.
Are there? Do you still have any teams that have the unique opportunity to run microwaves?
Yeah, we don't we don't do microwaves anymore. That's like probably that old school mentality, But the thought did cross my mind, is to say, like, gosh, I wonder how a team today, with the strength and conditioning and nutrition things that we have at our disposal today, how would they do with that? I think that would be a great mark. I mean, people used to be able to do it back then, shouldn't they be able to do it now? And that's 6 set of suicides under 3 minutes. I mean, can you do that? 6 in 3 minutes, right? So it's like 30 seconds, 30 seconds a set.
And I think you made us dive on every line.
Yeah, you guys probably did something to upset me that day. So I said, you know what, let's show you guys what real work is all about, but I think that.
So my memory of the most microwaves that we ran was after our match against Mount Diablo, where we lost. Actually, we won the match in 5, but we missed 13 serves. And after the match was over, I'm taking off my shoes. I'm talking to John Strummel, who I had the opportunity to play club volleyball with, and you come up to me and you say, Adam, why are you taking off your shoes? I'm like, the match is over. We just won. I'm about to go out to dinner with my family. And you're like, no, get your shoes back on and get your team on the line. We got some work to do first.
Yeah.
And that's something to this day that I will never forget. And I tell the story all the time to my teams and the teams that, Mike and I have the opportunity to coach, about hard work and perseverance. And even when you and I talk about it, you'll still say, yeah, but you'll never forget that, will you?
Yeah, I don't remember those stories, so much. I mean, I think as a coach, you try to block those moments out of your mind because, as people say, it hurts me more than it hurts you, to do something like that. And if anybody's seen the movie Miracle, it's kind of must have been something in the water back in those days. I mean, his young, very talented group of hockey players were getting ready to face the Russians in the Olympics, and they're busy looking at girls in the stands, and so they had to skate up and backs, and it's one of the most painful parts of that movie if you've ever seen it. And this obviously running those microwaves was long before this movie Miracle ever came out, so it's not like you have a model just to be a jerk, but there's this model back then. It's like I said, old school, of like what it means to just go hard at something and what it means to be your best, and not to let wins and victories, let the results dictate how you're going to process. And so, I think that we have learned today how to try to accomplish those results with a different type of process. But back then it was very, very prevalent and very common to be like that, and probably got a lot of coaches in trouble, and things have changed since then. But I think that wasn't meant to hurt people. It was just meant to establish that level of work ethic and that level of toughness to be, serving as one of the most mental tough things you can do. You have the control. There's no reason to miss that many serves. So, yeah, I mean, it's kind of like we talk about it, all day. But yeah, I think it's one of those things that become memorable. But the intent behind it was, always, to help us be better. And next time we want to not have that happen. I would probably do things very differently today, but that's back then. That's kind of the way. That was the solution. And
Well,
it doesn't seem.
What I remember, and it just, back then, kind of to your point, we're smarter now, right? And we have more resources to teach more things. But what I recall very vividly was just like getting into the zone, and athletes and coaches talk all the time about, chasing that state of flow where you're just, you're totally in the moment and locked in. And it was such a important experience for me as a player because, I'm sure it didn't make me any better at serving, but what it did teach me was, how to lock in, how to, manage my breathing and focus on, just staying calm and managing myself in a way where I could go again, where I could do another set, where I could, and I used to love, I hated running lines, but I loved winning. I came in first. I'm pretty sure I came in first every time.
Yeah.
And coaches would sometimes make me run in both groups, right? You run in like group 1, go, rest,
Right.
Group 2, go.
Right.
And I would kill everybody. And
Right.
coaches started making me run in both. And I was like, let's go, let's do this. And I just I loved that feeling. And honestly, it did, nobody was talking about mental skills training and sports psychologists back then. And, that experience, as tough as it was, really taught me how to breathe and focus and just locked in. It was awesome.
Right. Well, again, I think it comes from just being a tennis player growing up. And I think that a lot of the mental toughness and mental sports psychology books were all like coming out of the tennis game. And you have to stand alone there against your opponent, at least in the singles game. And you have to, I remember growing up just always being in that pursuit of that flow state. And I think that's changed a lot. When I was early as a college coach, I had the opportunity of working closely with a great sports psychologist, Kenravizza. And he was just, he came in and told the team like, hey, the championships are not won by just everyone pursuing the flow state. It comes from having good, crappy days. And I was just like, no way, that's not true. You got to be in the flow state. It's all I knew. And so then you realize that day that, 6 people on the court and 12 to 15 on the roster of your college team, to get everybody in a flow state was like impossible, and that everyone could be in a flow state at that time. So you pursue it, but that thought about having good crappy days, I felt like was a sellout. But now I realize that we're all going to have those bad days, and if we can be, still successful and still good, if not really good on a bad day, that's because you can't pick which day you're going to be playing a championship game on. So, you see it all the time, resilience, you see a lot of other things where people are still using those breathing techniques, still using, hey, let's get up and let's get focused on the next point. But we're not so strict with to say like, hey, it's flow state, or nothing, and so I find that's also helped, change the way I look at the game. So
I can tell you, I look back all the time and I wouldn't want to be coached in any different of a way. The characteristics that you instilled in us, the work ethic, the integrity, the love of the game. I mean, those are things that if you would have coached us in a different way, I don't think I would still have the same love of the game today. So I'm very thankful for the way that you coached us.
Great.
Hey, so moving on, talk to us about the significant national and international experience you have with working with USA Volleyball programs. And what your favorite part about working with them was?
I think that it's been a little while since I worked with USA Volleyball, but I was fortunate enough to have some really great summer experiences working with USA Volleyball. From doing the tryouts, at qualifiers and the different coaches that we would work with in different areas. I want to name drop, but there's been a lot of players that I remember helping run tryouts in Southern California with that I now are colleagues coaching as well. So that's like fun to just like, hey, I remember when you were 15 years old and you were like, you were on the court, and I remember this. And so to share what their journey has been like, I mean, obviously it's not a daily interaction, but when we catch up and say, wow, that's pretty cool to see where you've grown and where you've become. Even on the national team, some of those top, select teams and youth national teams are, gone through and become national team players. And whether it's playing, against them at the college level, playing, coaching them at the college level, or watching them on TV at the Olympic level, it's pretty awesome to see just the, hey, I remember when, it makes you feel old, but it's like at least just being part of that process has been just great for me, because I think it's fun to reminisce, but also fun to see development and seeing people be where they're at today. So,
do you have a highlight from the team you coached in 2019 that took 6th place in the European Global Challenge in Croatia?
I think that just being over there in Pula, and I go over there quite often and to coach a global challenge. I've been fortunate enough to have those opportunities. It was great. It's been a few years since I actually coached at the tournament, and we had a number of athletes. I think that one of the coolest experiences for me was probably playing against Iran. I mean, that was just an unreal experience to play against a team from Iran. I mean, it's just you realize, especially with what we see in the news and the political games and everything else, it's there's one side of things, but here we are at the basic level of competition, and these are young women who love the sport, and they're there because they love it, and from wearing their very specific uniform, and that they still play the game the same way, and they're good at it, and they're just we're all people, and I think that was a really cool experience in 2019.
With starting, this will be your 6th season at Long Island University. In 2018, you received your first East Section Coach of the Year, or Conference Coach of the Year, after, you know, winning back-to-back championships. What's unique and popular about your school and program that athletes love about Long Island University?
Well, I think that first of all, we're in Brooklyn. We're in downtown Brooklyn, and New York City is just an incredible place. It's an incredible place to live, and I think for a lot of students, especially all over the world, it's an incredible place to be. You know, I'm standing on the success of other coaches and other staffs at LIU before us, and they've won championships before, and it's been, you know, we've been in our conference tournament 18 consecutive years, and that's a long time. And out of those 18, we as a collective program have won 11 championships. So 11 trips to the NCAA tournament out of 18 is not bad. So, you know, I certainly have them and their hard work to thank for that, as well as the alumni. But I think that, you know, people have come, and that people have come from all over the world, even without visiting, because they know what New York City has to offer. And that's just, you know, a real world experience, real life experience, great food and great culture and great history, you know. And I think every time I'm in New York City, I feel like I'm in a movie because of all the different movies I've been in. I'm like, walk around like, hey, I seen that. Oh, that looks like The Godfather, or that looks like, you know, something else. So I think it has something for everybody. And for that person who thinks they have it all figured out, well, guess what? There's just uncountable things left for them to discover and to find also. So I think just like within our sport, as we teach, you know, different people to do different things, they can go out and see not just things in a book or some things in online. They can actually go and see it face to face. I think that's really special.
Well, let's talk recruiting for a little bit. You've got, right now you have 7 international players on you did on your 2019 roster. With the current pandemic that we're facing right now, do you think recruiting internationally will change?
I think it will. I mean, obviously, a lot of international students are a little delayed in taking their standardized tests, but the NCAA has come through and has waived those for this year. But still, I think that, you know, even for that international student who has taken their test and has the GPA and has gotten cleared, travel is still going to be an issue, you know, until that finally gets cleared up. So, you know, I think that's something to consider. But, you know, there's some fantastic international students out there, and if it's the right fit, I think that's great. One thing I've found that even with recruiting domestically, we've become a more international world, so to speak. So we have people from, you know, lots of different places in the United States who now see the value of being in a place like New York City, whereas before it would be, you know, outside their comfort zone. Now it's something they're seeking, and it's something they wanted to have a part of, because they have you know, it's more than just, you know, big locker rooms and leather couches and big screen TVs. It's about, you know, hey, what can I learn? What kind of internships can I have to push on my, you know, their agenda for education and still have a great volleyball experience. And so we provide a lot of that for them, all of it for them. So, you know, it's, I'm starting to see a lot more people just showing an interest, expressing interest, that that's something that they want as well. So in this current environment, it's hard to say, you know, but hopefully everyone's staying safe and we're moving towards a healthier world.
Yeah, with the landscape, especially the volleyball landscape, continuing to change. You know, it'll be interesting to see what's next. Hey,
Right.
So other than athleticism, what are the top 3 things that you look for when you're recruiting a volleyball player?
Well, and I think outside of just like whatever our program's needs is position-wise, competitiveness is a really big one. And you know, we spent some time defining. Our team came back from the spring and said, hey, what I asked them, what do we need to do better? And they collectively said, we need to be more competitive. So we define competitiveness, and competitiveness is defined as having and showing an intense desire to be more successful than others. So, while we have a lot of people who say they have competitiveness, if they don't show it, then we say by definition you need to work on that. So, we were talking about, I think competitiveness is a big one for us. I think the next one would just be, especially since it's New York, and we give our student athletes a lot of room to grow and to explore and do their own things. So I think just being independent, and I think integrity is probably the other one, who they are when nobody's looking, because if they're just a certain way when they show up to practice in college, that's what we see, but who they are when they're in their dorm room or who they are when they're out in the city is important. And I'd say probably it's kind of funny, but this one's kind of changed over time, but I think likable is a third one, and there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, I think we're all professionals and we want to do things a certain way, but to be likable, when you have so many student athletes to choose from, good fit is important. And when you're with, each other so much, especially in the fall, and you're spending time on buses and planes and who knows what else, in the practice gym, it's not just that hour and a half, 2 hours on match day. There's a lot more work that goes into it during the week. And as a coach, you're in charge of academics, you're in charge of, in addition to the athletics, and you're concerned about them socially. So I think likable is a very important quality, that people, I'm looking for, ability to have a conversation, ability to develop that relationship. It's just hard to do when you don't like somebody. So, I think that's an important part as we recruit. So.
Definitely, it makes a lot of sense. Well, I think speaking for both Mike and myself, thank you so much for taking the time, and thank you for all that you've done for both Mike and I over the years, and will continue to do.
Yeah, that's a privilege, guys. Thanks for having me. Wonderful to chat with you, and stay safe.
Thanks, Ken. You as
You
well.
as well.